Welcome to my presentation. Since the last 2 or 3 years due to COVID, there have been so many people working from home, right? Starting side businesses and just trying to generate income online. Because we all know that there's been a shift to the digital world. And one of the best ways of generating leads and revenue is through the creation of courses and trainings online. And there are many that do it. And I want to give you the content framework or the mindset that you need to have to create a successful course or training. So first, let's talk about content. These are the points of the discussion that I'm going to be talking about. So first, content, about me, a system, and the online currency, the course mindset and the elements, the formula, the principle, the essence, and then the questions. So first off, we all know content is king, right? So let's talk about it. How many of you create content every day? I mean, just tell me 0 means yes and 1 means at least once a day. Okay, so why do you think content is so important? Content is crucial for a successful online presence because it increases brand awareness and can generate 9 times more leads than outbound marketing. So honestly, what do you think is content? Just pop the words that come to your mind. And with all of today's noise about content, I think taking a step back and looking at what content is in the first place might bring some clarity to all this noise. Some of you may say that content is words, photos, videos, and sounds, right? Well, if you go in this example, you can keep going on because content is endless. Others would say that content is anything that provides relevant, compelling, timely, and valued knowledge, right? Well, let me tell you something. You've probably heard of this. It's quite vague, and mostly you get this from people that have no clue what content means. And third, you might get the dictionary definition, where it's a compilation of information, ideas, and messages that are translated into some kind of written, visual, or format for others to consume, right? I mean, this is just right off from the dictionary. But defining something as broad as content itself is a bigger task than you might think. And you're probably thinking of a definition of content now, and it's likely a different, something different from mine. But here is my definition. Content is information designed for consumption, seasoned for enjoyment, and packaged to share. What I mean by that is content always has one of these elements. It always entertains, informs, inspires, convinces, educates, and supports. So great. Now that we know what content is, let's see how much content is being shared every minute, just for curiosity. Shall we? It's a lot. So yeah. So let's get down to business. You want to know how to create courses, yeah? You're looking for that kind of framework that you can use for trainings and courses, right? Well, guess what? You're in luck listening to the right person at the right time. So you might be wondering, why should I listen to this guy? Why is he so special, right? Well, let me tell you a bit about myself. And I promise this is the only slide about me. So I'm Novnish. I'm from France. I'm a content marketer and strategist, currently working for a huge multinational. So I've got 10 years of experience, worked in small startups to huge multinationals across 5 different industries. I mean, I'm an author, an Amazon bestseller, a blogger, a podcaster, a speaker, a LinkedIn micro-influencer, a coach to business leaders and market executives, and an advisor to SMBs. So I've seen leaders cracking their heads, worried, desperate, hopeless, confused, lost, successful, and happy, living like a star as well, or even floating in the clouds. I mean, I've seen businesses fail and grow exponentially, and I've helped all of them grow, generate leads, and make meaningful connections through content marketing and strategy. And I've not been trained by amateurs. I've been trained from the teachings provided by master gurus like Rich Strafen, Jay Abraham, Ann Handley, Richard Brunson, Joe Paluzzi, Andy Crestodina, Gary Vaynerchuk, Neil Patel. The list goes on. So let's get back to what content creation framework is, right? So what is the most important thing you need to remember when creating anything? I mean, make sure it's before you answer, make sure what you answer. Because what I think is very important is that whatever you promise is being delivered has to be in that training. I mean, you can say whatever you want, you know, that promise is your guarantee to your audience. They have trusted on that promise and are sacrificing their time, and not only their time, their money as well, into coming to your training. So you don't want to lose them, because once you lose them, they're gone. They're totally gone. So you need to have this system in place. So what is this system? So initially, this is the mindset that you need to have, okay? And honestly, before we start, I'm going to ask you one question. What is one thing that what is like one factor that attracts you before you go on any webinar, video, course, training, or even an event? I mean, think about it. What is that one thing that attracts you? It's the headline, right? You need to start off with an attractive and emotional headline. And this headline should not be no longer than 70 characters with spacing and roughly 8 to 10 words. And honestly, this headline is typically a one-liner, a brief of your entire content. And honestly, you would need to have a clear idea before you even do the headline. And another question before you move on. How many of you have attended previous courses, presentations, meetings, or trainings? I'm sure most of you have, right? And what is it that you have noticed in all of these meetings at the very beginning? Once you enter, what do they start off with? Let me give you a clue. It's right there. There needs to be an overview, a kind of abstract, like a one-pager, you know? So coming back to the course mindset, what you need now after the headline is this one-pager. And why do you need this one-pager? I'll tell you why. It's anything that will help the audience understand clearly your offering, and you need to make sure that it's beneficial to them. And at the same time, you need to give an overall idea or a set of idea areas that you're going to be focusing with in the training. So in one way, you're providing them value, and at the same time, helping yourself get organized. And if you go to any content creator or provider, the first thing they're going to ask you is that one pager, that brief about that project, right? And this is everything that they need to create content and value for you. So in the same way, it ensures that your audience get that reassurance of the topic that they're going to learn and they're going to look forward to. And at the same time, the benefits they're going to get. And you may be wondering, what exactly do I put in a one pager, right? I mean, don't worry, I'll tell you. Here it is. It's everything about the course, who it's for, why it's for, what's in it, what are the costs, when it's going to happen, and where it's going to happen. Now, again, we are actually guiding your brain, remember, to follow a process so that your thought process flows and is creative. And not to mention, focus on the promise and the solution that your course is going to provide, right? So think back again to your school days for every assignment, right? What do you have right after a headline and right after that brief paragraph or one pager? It's an intro. Ensure you have a solid introduction that clearly summarizes briefly your entire course in one paragraph or two paragraphs. And this can be between 200 and 350 words, roughly 2 to 3 paragraphs, right? So, okay, now you have an awesome title, a clear overview, a one pager, and an intro. What's next? Any guesses? The chapters, the different modules, the content? Nah. This is where 90% of the people fail. You need to go right away to the conclusion. Now, you may be thinking, okay, this guy is crazy, right? What's he talking about? I thought it was clear. I thought he was going in a concise way, but now he's saying, okay, you've started, now go right to the end, right? I'll tell you why. I've learned this principle from a really famous person. I'm sure you know it, from Gary Vee. And I learned it 6 years ago during a masterclass of his. He calls it the cloud and dirt principle. And don't be shocked by the image. You're all aware of it. It's going back to your school days, your university days, when you were doing either history, geography, or biology. It's a picture of the water ecosystem or the water cycle. Now, you may be wondering why I'm talking about all this, but you'll see soon. I'll give you that connection. Now, let's just remove all the clutter on this image and go back to your period where there were no humans. Okay, so as you can see, the water cycle shows the continuous movement of water within the Earth and atmosphere, right? It's a complex system that includes many different processes. So in essence, water evaporates into the air as water vapor, condenses to form clouds, and precipitates back to the Earth in the form of water. And along the way, it can run down mountains, collect vital resources, minerals, and then go through the ground, where it's mixed into soil for plants and other vegetation to grow, right? That's the normal ecosystem. Okay, so now imagine that these clouds are the big picture, the goal, the global ideas that you have to go towards. That consists of your headline, your one pager, the intro, and the conclusion. All right? You with me? Okay, now the dirt. This is basically the hard work that you put in. Basically it's what goes between all of these intros, one pager, and conclusion. This is the content. So your chapters, your different modules, all of that. Why is it dirt? It's because these are the ideas coming down from your clouds, your thoughts, turning into concepts and rich thoughts. So this is the content that will actually flourish your course or training or webinar. So you get the connection now? Great. Why I said this is because next time you pick up a pen or sit in front of a computer or stare at a blank screen, you'll remember this image. So the idea is that once you know the final goals and a clear start of how you'll be leading up to that goal, then you can easily create the content that will follow up from the headline. That makes sense with the overview and introduction, and that leads all the way down to your conclusion. And everything formulates from the cloud, as you noticed. Nothing will work without it. Similar to the water cycle. If you remove the cloud, there's no water cycle, right? So now you've got the formula. Let's go down to details on how you'll actually be using this, because I know that you'll have tons of questions in your head, right? So how do you start off with this cloud and dirt then? I'll tell you. So first of all, the particular system for creating your clouds starts off with having a clear understanding of your audience persona, right? The idea behind this is that if you want to create content that is going to be beneficial to your audience, then you need to know who they are. And you can only know it if you understand their pain points, their problems, and the things they care about. So relating to that, you need to ask certain questions related to psychographic. And what I mean by psychographic, you'll see. They have to do with emotions and value. So you have to personally ask them all these questions, right? And then you have to go with the demographic questions. These are all actually the questions that you can find easily from any social media profile or just through any analytics tool. They're logic, they're data, right? So the psychographic questions that I mentioned these are personal questions. It makes sure that you understand what their values are, what they're looking for, who you're writing for, how much do they know of you, your company, your personal brand, what do they want to know, what degree of detail they need, what type of stage they're in, and to get a general idea of the customer's frame of mind. Okay, the demographic questions, of course, as I said, you can even find it in a social media profile. It's the name, age, profession, country, job, etc. So with all of this information that you have, you'll be able to deduce who your audience is, what their pain points are, and what you will need to craft your goals, headline, one pager, intro, and conclusion. But just one point for the caution in terms of goals, right? You have to ensure that the goals of your course, again, align from that initial messaging that you shared with them, right? Whether it's through an email, webinar, campaign, or lead form. So till now, you've led up everything to this main part. What is this main part? It's your main content. So once you have your goals, your one pager, intro, conclusion, you need to focus on your content and ensure you can answer the following questions. What information would you like to put forth? What actions do you wish your audience to take? How can you provide value? What is the value that you're providing? Was that going to be sufficient? And have you answered all these audience's pain points? Have you answered their concerns? So the idea is to really transform each of their pain points, problem areas, requirements into the different chapters and modules in which you'll be providing solutions, right? So the essence of your content is simple. Your content has to solve their problem, answer their questions, and provide satisfaction from your course or training. And there are two fundamental words to summarize this. Do you know what those two words are? I'll tell you. Relevancy and value. So by answering these questions first before jumping into the content ensures that you yourself have a clear idea of your audience and target group. And by following this, you will never lose your audience or reader. And this way, you can never go wrong because the content will be structured and it will flow. And because you're always clear with your goals and you're always clear with what you're going to offer and what the pain point is. And trust me, if you do not follow such a system or a framework that is proven to work, then you will seriously lose out on these people. So remember, this formula or framework will have to be used for each chapter and module that you create. So each chapter has to have an introduction, a catchy headline, a chapter, a conclusion. This framework works because it's focused on the long term. And there's several benefits on this because basically by doing this, you can literally take each chapter or module and make that into an entire standalone content on its own. I mean, you can even create each chapter or module into a YouTube video, into a blog, an email, etc. So you can even take each chapter and create multiple contents from it, right? Because they're always structured. So you see, the real benefits of this framework is enormous. And it can actually save you lots of time when needing to create additional content that keeps the flow and momentum of your audience. So again, yours truly, Novnish. So I know I finished a bit early because I know that every time I do this presentation, I get tons of questions because people are always quite confused. So I wanted to dedicate as much time as possible for Q&A. So if you want, do feel free to ask me any questions that you have.
Yes, I think it was a bit fast at the beginning. If you could go back and reformulate for us a little bit in the room because we have some people arriving a bit late. So
Okay.
if you just could give a short summary of the main points here so that we
Sure.
can figure out the questions also. Thank you very much.
Sure. So basically the main points are this. You need to know what content is and you need to be clear of it. And as I mentioned, content is basically something that provides one or all of these. So a content needs to either entertain, either need to inspire, either need to educate, support, convince, or inform. And as you can see, there's so much content around. You know, every single thing is content. Even now, what we're doing is content, right? So similarly, you need to be aware that there's a specific system that you need to have in order to be creating a coursework or a course or a training. And this system, I call it the cloud and dirt principle that I learned from Gary Vaynerchuk. And honestly, it comprises uh, of this. So you create a headline, you create an intro, you create a one pager, and you create the conclusion. And he calls all of this the clouds, because the clouds is exactly what you call the global ideas, the big picture. And he associates this to the water cycle, because water actually uh, falls from the cloud, right? It evaporates from the ground, from the sea, goes into clouds where it condenses and comes down into rain or snow. And as it washes down, it collects nutrients and vital resources, right? And it goes into the ground. Similarly, the clouds are basically your ideas. So your headline, your intro, your one pager, and your conclusion. And what goes in between these is what you call the dirt. And why I call it the dirt, or why Gary calls it the dirt, is basically because the water has come down, it has collected all the nutrients, all the rich minerals, right? So similarly, from your big picture, from your ideas, you have rich concepts, thoughts, processes. So all of these you would put down into your main content, which is in the form of chapters and modules. And with such a systems in place, it makes sure that it flows down into a clear and precise structure that you'll never forget, because you are clear in your head and the audience is clear in their head. And in order to actually formulate this cloud and dirt, you need several things. So you need to understand your audience inside out. And why I mean inside out is you need to know both of their psychographics and demographics. And psychographics are basically personal questions that you cannot normally find out from a social media profile. So questions like what they like, what their fears are, how much do they know about you, how much they want to know, how much they're interested in something, what is their frame of mind, right? And demographics are basically what you see, what you can easily get from their social profile. So their name, the age, where they're from, the job, all of that, right? So once you get all of these done, you can actually you'll actually be ready to create your main content, which consists of a lot of questions that you need to answer, in the sense what information that you're going to provide in that content, what actions you want your audience to take, how you can provide the value, and is the value that you provide sufficient, and how if you've answered all of their pain points and concerns, right? Because the main idea of your goal of your course or training is that they have a problem, they have something that they're uncomfortable with, they need an answer, and you need to provide that answer, that solution. And that solution should be portrayed in each of your paragraphs in your main content, right? In your chapters and modules. And which is why I keep saying relevancy and value is very important in your course. So to close off, what I mentioned was this is not useful just for courses, but you can actually do it for a lot of things, because the way you structure each chapter, each module, the fact that each module and chapter has an intro, a one pager, and a conclusion make sure that you can actually take that and separate it from your main module and give it as a separate content, either as a blog article, a YouTube video, or any post, right? So which is why this framework is very powerful. And if you follow this framework, you will never go wrong, because you're not going to lose that audience that have trusted you, and you're not going to lose yourself when you're creating it. So that's the brief summary.
Thank you very much. I think it's much clearer now, and it's a little bit
Yeah,
slower so everyone could understand, even those who could come a little bit later. So
yeah,
I see Samita already asking a question. So, what do I
yeah.
write in the conclusion, and which would be the best place to host my online training?
Great. The conclusion is basically what you're going towards. What is it that the reader or the person that subscribes to this course, the key takeaways that they're going to take away from, by going, by doing this course or by doing this training, what can they be able to do? So that's your conclusion. And the second part, what was the second question again? Sorry.
It was about which is the best place to host the online training.
Okay. I mean, you have to ensure that whatever you host, if it's online, needs to have a connection. So to give you an example, the best places to host it is through video, right? And one of the few places that actually has a lot of people in is YouTube. And it's got more than 1 billion people, right? So it's one of the most highly used platforms on the planet. So have it in a YouTube video. And why I suggest a YouTube video is because you can actually repurpose that into different other little pieces of content. And in the description, you can easily link it to your website, to your social media profile, wherever you want to link it, right? And it's always there. You can reshare it and you can do quite a lot of things with it. So I actually prefer YouTube.
Thank you very much. So I believe there are many people in this room, so maybe I will open it up for a discussion. I will just
Sure.
close the YouTube live. If you would like to share where people can connect with you, just for quickly before I close the live.
Sure. I mean, you can find me on, you can connect with me on email. And I'm also in all the social media platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. And my name is Novnish Ramesh. So my name is exactly the same in all of these platforms.
Thank you very much. So thank you for those who are watching this on YouTube or who are watching it on replay. Don't forget we have the treasure hunt going on. So make sure that you are playing and you are watching the QR codes and you are collecting those points and giving feedbacks about the sessions. And now I will close the live